Trump will be removed from Simpsons predicted that July 3rd.
Simpsons predicted Ozzy Osbourne's death.
Have you ever watched an old episode of The Simpsons or South Park and suddenly realized they predicted something that actually happened? Not just vaguely hinted at it, but nailed it. Names, visuals, context, sometimes even the timing. It feels less like a joke and more like a blueprint for reality. And once you notice it, you start seeing it everywhere. In the year 2000, The Simpsons aired an episode called Bart to the Future. It shows Lisa as the President of the United States, and she casually says,
"Inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump."
At the time, it was meant to be absurd. Trump wasn't even running for president. He was just a flashy businessman who occasionally flirted with the idea. But 16 years later, that offhand joke became a piece of real-world history. And that's not even the strangest part. Years later, fans uncovered an eerily similar moment from another Simpsons episode. It shows Trump riding down an escalator, waving at a crowd, while a sign falls in the background. The real footage of Trump doing exactly that, waving, descending the escalator, the sign falling, surfaced during his 2015 campaign. Nearly identical, same angle, same scene. You'd think this was just an isolated moment of uncanny accuracy, but it's not. There's the time they joked about faulty voting machines switching votes. Years later, the same malfunction was reported during a US election. They mocked the idea of video chats, smartwatches, virtual reality theme parks, even the Disney-Fox merger, all before they actually happened. And then there's the Higgs boson particle. In 1998, in an episode where Homer tries to become an inventor, he's shown scribbling an equation on a chalkboard. That formula, strangely enough, is very close to the one scientists used years later to identify the Higgs boson particle, the so-called God particle. Homer, it seems, beat them to it. At first glance, it feels impossible. Are the writers psychic? Are they part of some hidden group with access to classified information? Or is there a more grounded explanation? Let's bring in the numbers. A professor from the University at Albany analyzed this phenomenon. He found that across the first 29 seasons of The Simpsons, there are about 120,000 jokes. Of those, roughly 1,200 could be considered predictions, but only about 20 came true. That's a success rate of just 1.6%. So statistically, it sounds like random luck, but that explanation falls apart when you look at the specificity. These aren't vague Nostradamus-style predictions. They're detailed, they're visual. They often capture not just the event but how it looks, feels, or unfolds. And that makes people wonder how. The answer may be less mysterious but even more fascinating. Many of the writers of The Simpsons and South Park are not just comedy writers. They're former scientists, mathematicians, engineers, and cultural analysts. David X. Cohen, for example, holds degrees in both physics and computer science. These people don't throw darts at a board. They study trends. They read everything. They're tuned into culture at a level most of us never consider. And when you combine that level of knowledge with comedy, weird things start to happen. Then there's South Park, which does something The Simpsons can't. It produces episodes in under a week. That speed means they can react to real-world events instantly. But it also means they often land ahead of the curve. They satirized social media mobs before cancel culture was a mainstream term. They joked about people panic buying and hoarding toilet paper years before COVID-19 hit. They parodied online influencers, drone surveillance, and VR addiction before those became major talking points. So what does this all mean? It means that maybe they're not predicting the future. Maybe they're just really good at reading the present. Our world moves in patterns. History repeats itself. Culture evolves in predictable cycles. Technology develops along expected paths. If you're observant enough, and if your job is to exaggerate trends, you can sketch out where things might be going. And every once in a while, reality catches up to your sketch. subscribe.